Good morning, first graders. How are you all doing this morning? Great. It's Miss Jen here, and we are about to begin our Bible lesson of the day today. Let's begin with the memory verse of the week. So Miss Jen is going to be reading our memory verse. You can either just listen to me or read along. Here you go. Do not be interested only in your own life, but be interested in the lives of others. Philippians 2:4. Amen. Okay, and so that is the memory verse of the week. So we'll be reciting this all together tomorrow and on Friday again. So the Bible story that I'm about to share with you is about Elijah and the widow. Some of you might say, "Oh, Miss Jen, I think I heard of his name before." Yeah, you might have heard of his name before. So Elijah was a prophet, right? And he was not just a prophet, but a true prophet. A true prophet means someone who had special knowledge from God, who communicated with God and who knew what God's plan was going to be, because God is sharing that with him. And the widow. So widow is a woman whose husband had died. So we will be talking about a story that has to do with Elijah and the widow. But today, the story is going to be more about Elijah and the king Ahab of Israel. Tomorrow, we'll be talking more about the widow. All right. Moving on. Oh, look. What do we have here? Does this fruit look good to eat? No, absolutely not, right? I do not think I will eat this banana because it will probably taste bad, right? And I will not put it back into a bag with fresh fruit. And it's because spoiled fruit like this makes fresh fruit ripen and begin to spoil faster, right? And so what Miss Jen wants to tell you guys is that people who do not love or trust God can be like spoiled fruit, like this banana, in a bag of fresh fruit, meaning they can make others to turn away from the Lord. And we don't want that to happen. Okay. We'll dive right into the story that I'm going to share with you today. All right. So, many years had passed since King David had ruled. We talked about King David just before this lesson. And many kings had come and gone over time. And now, look who the king of Israel is. So now King Ahab was ruler over the country of Israel. But he was not a good king. Ahab made a lot of bad choices. he married a woman named Jezebel. And Queen Jezebel worshipped an idol called Baal. And we all know that an idol is a false god, not a real god, right? And Jezebel made King Ahab to begin to worship Baal too. And that was a very wicked thing to do. Wicked meaning bad. It was a very bad thing to do. And here in the next picture, we have Elijah. And Elijah followed God's ways all the time. He was a prophet of the Lord. And like Miss Jin talked about in the beginning of this lesson, a true prophet means someone who had special knowledge from God. Someone who had special knowledge from God, meaning he would communicate with God because he followed God's ways at all time, and God would share his plans for him and for others. Okay. And one day, God called Elijah to go to King Ahab and give him a message. Elijah might have been afraid to speak boldly to the wicked king, but he was obedient to God, meaning he listened to God. So God gave courage to Elijah to speak the truth. And so what Elijah told King Ahab was that if he did not stop worshiping Baal, there would be no rain or dew, meaning no water, for not only for King Ahab himself, but for the people of the land. No water. Oh my. And King Ahab did not realize how problematic it was going to be later on. And so, of course, King Ahab right here did not listen to Elijah. So the Lord did just as he had promised. And that was the people of the land had to go, the people of the land had to go without rain or dew for how many years? For several years, meaning many years. God knew that King Ahab would not listen to Elijah's message, and that Ahab would angrily blame Elijah for the drought. So God protected Elijah and provided for Elijah's needs. And how did God provide Elijah's needs? How did Elijah eat and drink? This is how he drank. So God provided water at a brook. Brook. Not sure if you can see this right here. B-R-O-O-K. Brook. Oh, this is our spelling word. Brook. So brook means, like you can see over here, small stream, so small lake. So God provided water at a brook for Elijah. What about food? How did God provide Elijah food? This is how he did. This is what he did. So God provided food like this. There's a black bird, and they're called ravens. Everyone say raven. So ravens brought food each morning and evening for Elijah. And do you, first graders, do you remember another time when God sent food to his people? Yes, right. Some of you guys remember this. God had provided food and water to the Israelites in the wilderness, in the desert, remember? Yeah, and he provided food and water for Elijah, just like he had provided food and water to the Israelites in the wilderness. And so Elijah, of course, he was very thankful and grateful for God's provision. Provision meaning the things that he provided for him. And he probably had a lot of time to pray and thank God while he was hiding from the king. But eventually, though, the brook dried up. So no more water, even for Elijah. And then what do you think God had done for Elijah? Do you think God had another great plan for Elijah? Yes, of course. God told Elijah to go to the city and speak with a widow. Oh, this is where the widow comes in the story of this Bible story. And this may have seemed like a strange direction from God, right? To go to the city and speak with the widow? Why? But Elijah did not question it. He believed God and showed his trust in God by obeying his command. Like he always have done, he obeyed to God and listened to his command. And so he went to the city and he did speak with the widow. What did he talk about and what happened next? We'll talk more about it tomorrow. But now, before we move on to our work text, Miss Jen is going to ask you some questions here. So number 1, what did Elijah tell King Ahab? Yes, you are correct. So he told King Ahab that if he did not stop worshiping Baal, the idol, there would be no rain or dew until the Lord commanded it. So no rain or dew. For how long? For several years, for many years. Moving on to number 2. Where did Elijah get something to drink? Right, God provided water from a brook. And what is brook? Right, small stream, small lake. And up next, how did God provide meat and bread to Elijah? Right, ravens, right? Ravens brought food each morning and evening. Now, number 4, what did God tell Elijah to do when the brook dried up?